In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a patio paver look beautiful and not ugly and nasty. And I got some pictures of what it looks like, and I'll put right in here of what this thing looked like and how nasty this thing is and how good it looks. It's still drying a little bit over here in this side over here, but it is dried over here. You can see that this looks amazing. In this video, I go step by step of everything we need to do, from cleaning it, pulling all the nasty weeds out, putting a weed killer down on it, putting our sand in it, brooming our sand, wetting our sand, putting our sealer on it, and now we have an amazing, beautiful patio, paver patio. This is what this video is going to be about, so stay tuned and watch it. The one thing that I would highly recommend is to make sure that all the furniture is moved off of the concrete. So DJ is having to remove it. He had tried to get them to remove the furniture, but the things that we have to remember is if we are removing the furniture, if we break something, this thing's probably worth $1,000. The last thing we want to do is be going from profitable to not profitable, and that is one way of removing furniture. You know, we want to make sure we're taking pictures of it before we start it, so that way we can kind of make sure that saying, hey, we did not break your furniture because here's a picture before we started, and that kind of thing. The next step we need to do is try to get a lot of the large debris off. So we have like a pile of crap right here. We want to get all of this stuff off of here, so that way we can do the next step, which will be putting some weed killer down on this stuff. You can put different types of weed killer on it, and we'll show you what type of weed killer we're going to use coming up next. And again, one thing we don't want to do too when we're doing this is we don't want to throw a lot out in there, because we're already going to get some sand out in the yard, and we're going to try to minimize that. So these are some things we can do to minimize it. It does take a little bit to try to keep it from out there, but on the end we have to get this stuff cleaned up so that way we can make it look good. If we get a lot of sand out there, you'll get some complaints that you got to come pick that stuff back up. So we want to be careful on the sand going everywhere. So the next step is putting stuff that will kill all the grass. So we use a chemical called sodium hypochlorite, and basically what we're going to do is we really want to soak this stuff down, so that way it kind of goes down into the cracks and it really kills everything that we can at that point. And so this house is actually getting a house wash, so we're going to put this on there so let that stuff go down and kill some of the grass. You can use weed killer also. Weed killer is actually a good thing to put on here too, to keep that grass from growing up. But this is the way that I've always done it, is just put a good solid floating coat of sodium hypochlorite on this stuff, so that way it will keep it from growing back up. Because the last thing we wanted to do is we don't want that grass coming up through that new sand that we put in there. You can see down in here, once this starts working, that there's quite a bit of moss and crap down in these crevices, and you can see that some of this stuff's already keeling over from it. And so we really want to put a good layer of it, so that way we can make sure that grass does die. And yes, sodium hypochlorite will kill grass, will kill bushes, will kill everything. And so we do got to be careful on where we're spraying it. But again, this is something that we got to do so that way we can make sure that we're killing that grass and we're getting it good and deep. And you'll start seeing it here shortly. It'll start turning brown. we'll let this sit and we'll do the house wash and come back and start the next process. Now that the bleach or the sodium hypochlorite has set on this, you can see that it's making a lot of this stuff die. It's getting a lot of it down there. You can see that a lot of it's dead, and that is the goal of what we're wanting. You can see the moss. The next step is take the surface cleaner, the good old surface cleaner, and we're going to just clean it with that to try to pull a lot of this other stuff up. It's going to pull a lot of that dead moss up. It's going to pull a lot of that old grass up. So then that way the next step is to start pulling all that grass up, and that is what sucks. Again, here we're just trying to get up all the crap, so that way we don't have to pull it up with a screwdriver and that. We're gonna have to do some of it, but at least it knocks a lot of it off. What it's gonna look like once with the surface cleaner, it knocked a lot of it down, it got a lot of it gone. Now we'll have to go back and pull the rest of it out with either a screwdriver, and we'll show you how to do that here shortly. But I just want to show you how the surface cleaner has knocked a lot of it out and gotten a lot of it up, but there's still more that we got to get up, and he's still working on it over there. So just some things that you got to look at doing. So when you got a lot of grass in it, you know, that's what's going to take you time. That's probably the hardest part to deal with, is with the grass. So you can see here that all the grass, we've gotten the big stuff out. Now we just kind of got to go back, get the little stuff out. We've done it all with the surface cleaner. And so this is what we got to do to get it looking good. We need to get all the grass out. We don't want no grass sitting anywhere. You can see most of this is out pretty good. Over here we got some sticking out there. We got some right here where my foot is. So we want to make sure that we're getting all of this stuff out, so that way when we go and put our sealer down on it, you don't have grass poking up out of it. It is a good idea to put like a weed killer or something on top of this, so that way when the customer, you know, a month from now and water gets on here, we're killing that stuff to the roots. We want to kill it all the way down to the bottom, so that way it doesn't start poking back up and causing us issues later on down the road. This is the fun part right here. This right here is the fun part of getting all the weeds out. This is what sucks the most. When it don't have many weeds, it's not bad. But then you got to get down here like DJ is on all four, try and get underneath these stupid steps. And so those are the issues that you run into. And he sounds like, I don't know what he sounds like, can't hardly breathe or something. These are the stupid things of when they have grass, you're going to want to be more in the higher price range. You're going to make that go up a little bit higher, because the grass is going to take you a much longer time versus not having grass. And so yes, when they don't take care of it and you get all the grass, that is when it's a pain in the neck, and that's when you're going to make sure that you charge enough, so that way you're making money to get all this stuff out. Is we sprayed it, we picked a bunch of the grass up. From there, what we did is then we sprayed it again with some more sodium hypochlorite. And the reason why we did that is you can still see there's a little bit of grass still down in here. And now that we've killed a lot of this grass off, you can see where it's all white now versus it was all green. So by us doing it again and spraying that roof mix down there, it's turned everything white, which that means it has killed all of the grass. And so now we're going to take the surface cleaner over it one more time, try to get it all up. Whatever we don't get up, then it's a good time to spray that chemical of a yard stuff to keep that down and from getting bad at that point. So the next thing is we got to sand and put sand down into the cracks here. So that way what it does is it keeps them from allowing them to tip over when they're full of sand. When they get old and they don't allow that sand to come out of there and does it, it allows them to fall into each other, and that is where our problems will start. So we need fine sand. We don't want no real thick sand. And basically what I do is I just kind of spread it across it. I don't really dump it in one pile, and then I just kind of go from there. But you can see we got the sand. It does come in different colors. Today we got gray. Sometimes you might think, well, this looks the same, and then you put it down and you're like, that's not the right color. And you just go with it and hope they don't complain about it. If they complain about it, then we got other issues. But this here is just fine pool sand, is what this is. This is just, you can use polymer sand, but this here is what we need is for the fine sand, because we are going to be using seal and lock, and that will go down through and bond all that and make it work.
Or the polymeric sand, that's the one that actually has a glue in it already.
Yeah, the polymeric sand has a glue in it, and once you water it and it hardens, and it does the same, you know, it'll harden at that point too. All right. So again, we're just going to kind of dump it in there, see if we can fill up his boots, because we like to wear those types of shoes. You can go a little bit thicker if you want. You know, most of the time you want to get these grooves completely full, pretty much full, and then what we'll do is try to blow off the excess, and then we'll go from there. But you'll see here that right here, what we'll do here next is we'll get the broom here, and then we're just going to start working it in, and then just start working it all to the next spot. Some things that we do need to watch out for, we can get a lot of sand out here if we're not careful. So that's kind of why we want to start kind of a thin layer versus just dumping it in a big pile, and then we got more of a chance of it coming into the grass, and that can be an issue. And sometimes it is just where what happened is over here where the sand come off is where that was where we rinsed it out, and so we have all this sand coming off right here. So that can be a problem, but you know, basically what we're going to do is just sit here and broom it and work it into our grooves and into our cracks. It don't have to be dry, it can be a little wet. And then what we're actually going to do is take a fan nozzle. Once we get this, you can take a fan nozzle and just kind of wet it down, and then that will also make that sand go deeper into the cracks. One other little tip here is we really don't want to put too much sand down. A lot of times we think, oh my gosh, we got all this sand, we got all these holes and cracks that we got to fill up, and I'm going to put 2-3 bags down. Put one bag down and push that stuff as long as it'll go. Because a lot of times what'll happen is we'll have a whole lot of sand over here, and we're filling up one bag, a 50-pound bag of sand that we opened that we didn't need to even open in the first place. So really try to make sure that we get it down as far as we can. And then when we're doing this, you know, we're really wanting to pull as much sand back up as we're putting down. We want to keep, you know, we want it down in the cracks, but we don't want it up on top. If you let this stuff up on top and seal it up on top, you have another issue. You're gonna have a customer that's asking why this sand up here. And then you gotta go figuring out how to remove that sealer, how to remove that sand and stuff like that. So just make sure all the sand is off of the top of these bricks, so that way that's one less thing you gotta worry about. One thing that, like, if you're bidding a job, honestly, I really do like to look at these patio pavers in person versus just bidding these online. Could I bid them online? Yes, but there's things that can be issues, and one of them is obviously, like this one had a lot of grass in it, so I knew that was going to take some time with all the grass. Second is if they have really big cracks. So you can see over here in this corner, we've got some large cracks over here. And what's happening here is this wall has kind of settled over and pushed over, and all of this has kind of went with it. And so that's made these large cracks. and that can be an issue. You can see all the way around here. So then that means we're gonna need more sanding and more long to go. You know, it just sucks when we have too much of that with the cracks there. You can see right here, we're just moving that sand this way. We're just moving that sand, keeping it coming, knocking anything, allowing it to go down into the groove. We're just moving it that way. Getting all that sand, we're getting it down in the cracks, and we're just moving any extra sand that we have and keeping that sand pushing and going. And this will be nice to get it, like I say, down into the cracks. It helps, the water actually helps pull that, you know, break that sand up and gets it down in the cracks and does a nice job of that. And it gets rid of all the top side of it too. So you can see kind of like a water broom in it, just sitting there, getting all that extra sand and moving that extra sand. Now, we used about 100-pound bag. We used about 100-pound sand, and it fit perfect. If we'd have used another bag, we would have been pulling it. We got a little bit of spots here. By the time we pull all of this sand coming this way, we'll be able to put it right in those holes and keep it right going. And that is what we want. Next step is to take, and we want to water this a little bit, and that's going to make that sand go down. Now, we don't want to be on super blast. We want to be on a nice, gentle, kind of a rainfall thing. It's going to be interesting to see what a 10-gallon minute is going to be on a rainfall thing and not a river flood. Now that we have it sanded, we've taken and we wetted it all down. It's allowed the sand to go down into the cracks here. And the next thing is we got to do is we got to make sure that we get all of the sand off of the pavers. We do not want this right here where we have sand on top of the pavers. And then if we seal over that, it is done. So we got to make sure that it is completely dry. Whether we broom it again, whether we take a blower and blow it all off, but we cannot have sand on top of our pavers, because what happens is then it looks like crap, and that is not what we want. You can see over here, if we seal this right now, we got lots of sand on top of here, so we got to get that sand off of there. We're going to use, it's called Seal and Lock, and it is for the shiny stuff. It is the super wet look. It makes it look wet. You know, right now it's drying. It's kind of got that dull look, and that's what it would look like. When we get done, it'll kind of look like the wet look. So the very first thing is, it is a two-part material. It's a two-part. Your first thing you'll have here is you'll have the bucket, and the one is one, and then the other part is in a can that is in there. And so what we're going to do is the first coat that we're going to put on will be 3 to 1. So 1 gallon of stuff to 3 gallons of water, or yeah, to 3 gallons of water. And then the next one, the final coat, is a 1 to 1, 1 gallon of water to 1 gallon of the mix. One thing I would say when we are mixing this stuff is I would not do this in the driveway. I had an employee do it in the driveway, and they spilled some, and I had a big time trying to get this crap up. Do not do this in the driveway. That is a no-no. I would probably do it out in the grass, just so that way if we do spill some on the concrete, then it might be super shiny and we don't want that. So just a tip, do it out in the grass, do it somewhere not on the driveway, not in the sidewalk. Out in the road would be fine, but not in the sidewalk or driveway. Like I say, I had an employee do it in the driveway, and I had to spend a bunch of time and money to trying to get that stuff up, which is not easy. So that is one thing that is a good tip to know, is doing it out in the driveway. So the first thing is we're gonna do it, either way, you can, how many gallons is 3 or 2? 2.5? So
It's 3.5.
3.5, so we need to put 2.5 gallons of water and then fill the rest of it up with that. You might want to do that. So once we put part A into part B, we have about 2 hours. Once we do that, it'll set up and all of that kind of thing. So really we want to make sure that we do part A and part B is one of the last things. So that's why I was saying go ahead and put our water in here. So then that way when we do our part A and part B and we pour it in here, then we can mix it up in here and we can rock on and keep on going. So we're gonna fill it up here and then we're gonna mix it. We should have a power mixer. I never did, I just used the stick or whatnot. That stuff there is pretty sticky. Don't get it on you, it is pretty funky and sticky, but it is what it is. Once we tighten these two together, if we try to put this a bucket and close it, this stuff will be hard as a brick in the morning, or at least the bottom half will have like a thing and it's done. So we don't want to leave it in our pump up sprayers. We want to make sure we keep those cleaned out. Otherwise, that pump up sprayer is junk. Now, I use the cheap ones, the $10 pump up sprayers, and after every job, I just trashed it and be done with it. This is the Chapman. This is the $100, $125 sprayer. So you want to make sure that you are cleaning it out really well with it. This is a water-based stuff, so water will clean this out. We can put a little soap in it and we'll clean this stuff right out. But again, we want to get it good mixed up. You stick your tongue out while you're trying to mix it, makes it better. But you know, hey, what do I know? All right, and then once it gets this all mixed up, then we're gonna pour it into here. We put about 2.5 gallons of water, so we'll put a gallon of this, and this is our flood coat for that. So that is what we're gonna do now. See if we can hit the hole. Doing a pretty good job so far. No, that's not white paint. No, that's not something you want to drink. You spilled it on the side, now it's gonna get all sticky and yucky, but hey, that's DJ for you. This lid's a little tricky. You can see it's got the 3 tabs. You want to go all the way like so, and then you got to clamp it down.
So I've done it.
Now go the other way, there you go. Clamp it down and pump her up, and we're ready to start spraying. We want to get a good even coat on this. We want a good even coat when we're doing this. We don't want it obviously not, but we're also getting a good flood coat on it too. So we really want it to flood it into the joints because we want that stuff to go down and lock that sand in place, so that way that sand's not coming up and giving us issues later on. We don't want to flood it so much that it's just hanging out and not drying on the pavers, because then it will look like a white haze on there, and that is not a good thing to have a white haze on there. Now the wind's blowing, so I would probably start on the other side, so that way the wind's not gonna blow that stuff right back on me. I would start up there and work my way this way. I mean, that's what I would do, so that way, otherwise your hairy legs get nice and all sticky, and when you go to take a bath, it hurts like a son of a gun. All right, bucket number 2. Now, the one thing difference between a good sprayer and a cheap sprayer is it does do a lot better when we're dealing with spraying and getting more of an even coat. Like I say, it ain't gotta, we're just getting a nice flood coat in here if we can kind of flood them. And as long as they're white like that, that's fine. We just don't want it so much that it's like a big giant puddle that won't do anything. A half gallon or half of it with water. Now we're going to top it off with this here, and this was the last coat, which is a 1 and 1. So a half a gallon of water, or half of it's water, half of it is the sealer, seal and lock sealer. So we're going to top it off, fill it up, and then we'll be ready to start spraying and putting our final coat on it. We're going to start back on this side over here because this is where he'd already sprayed. And it's done setting up, and this here he just is still sitting up, so he'll spray this side and work our way this way, and from there, and it's just a nice, it's not, you don't really want it to sit on top of it. That can cause issues. If we get it too full, then that is bad, and that can cause issues.